All right, y'all. So in this video, I'm talking about 5 things that the HEROES Act, which is the new Democrat proposal, the new stimulus package that the Democrats have put forth in the House, 5 things the HEROES Act would change, okay, about the old stimulus payments. So in my videos going forward, I'm going to refer to the old stimulus payments as the ones enacted by the CARES Act, the ones that everyone's been talking about for the last month and a half, okay? And I'm going to refer as the new stimulus payments, the new payments that are proposed by this HEROES Act, okay? And what are those new payments? Those new payments are $1,200 for you, $1,200 for your spouse, $1,200 for each of your dependents of any age, right, up to a maximum of 3 dependents. So a maximum, right, let's say you're married and you have 3 dependents, that'd be $1,200 times 5, that's a $6,000 payment, all right? But in this video in particular, I'm just going to be talking about the changes that the HEROES Act is making to the old stimulus payments. Okay, and all these changes also apply to the new stimulus payments. Okay, just for your information. But I wanted to walk through these 5 changes real quick because these answer a lot of questions that a lot of people have asked about the old stimulus payments. Okay, and before I get into them, I want to remind you, this is just a bill at this point. Okay, the House is probably going to vote for it on Friday, right? I would imagine it's going to go through, right? Because the Democrats control the House. But getting this past Mitch, and Trump, of course, is a different story. I imagine if a new stimulus passes at all, it will be a watered down version of this. All right. But let's dig into that. Here are the 5 changes that the HEROES Act is making to the old stimulus payments. Okay. So it's talking about the recovery rebate improvements, right? They're talking about how to improve the old recovery rebates, the old payments under the CARES Act. Now, I touched on this in my video where I pointed out Meet Kevin's mistakes, the last video I posted. But basically, the first thing they're talking about to improve the old stimulus payments is changing the definition of who qualifies for a $500, right? So under the old stimulus, only qualifying children qualify. But now they're saying we got to strike qualifying children from the law and instead just put dependents in there. So this is saying the law that said that qualifying children, you'll get $500 for them. Now we're saying any dependent, you'll get $500 for them. Okay? That's what this is saying. That's the first thing that the HEROES Act wants to change about the CARES Act stimulus, the old stimulus. Change number 2, okay? Individuals providing taxpayer identification numbers taken into account in determining credit and rebates. So under the old stimulus, under the old CARES Act, you had to have a Social Security number, okay, in order to get your stimulus. And if you were married to somebody who didn't have a Social Security number, you were not eligible for a stimulus, all right? What is this part of the HEROES Act saying, okay? It's saying now, we're not saying you need what is in the words of the code a valid identification number, which is basically synonymous with a Social Security number. Now we're saying all you need is a TIN. What's a TIN? I'll show you on the IRS website. Here we go. Taxpayer identification numbers, right? What counts as a taxpayer identification number? Not only Social Security number, but also an individual taxpayer identification number, an ITIN. An ITIN. So now this is saying even if you don't have a Social Security number, you can still qualify for the payment, right? As long as you have an ITIN, right? And it's also saying down here, right, in this joint return section, even if you're married to somebody and you file taxes jointly with them, and they don't have a Social Security number, but they have an ITIN. Okay, you're still good. You're still okay. All right. Now, same thing with dependents. All right. So originally in the code, where was it? Valid identification number. Where was that? Okay. Originally, you would need the child would need the Social Security number, right? But now it's saying even if they just have an ITIN or a social, but also an ITIN, they would qualify for the additional $500 under the old stimulus and the additional $1,200 under the new stimulus. Okay. But I want to point this out because this is very important. What the HEROES Act is not doing is it is not striking from the law the wording regarding non-resident aliens. Okay, so many, non-resident alien, ITIN. Some people think they're synonymous, but there's some people without it who have an ITIN who are not non-resident aliens. Okay, but the rules saying that non-resident aliens are not eligible for a stimulus, that still applies. Okay. However, even if you're married to a non-resident alien, okay, as long as they have an ITIN, all right, and you file your taxes jointly with them, you will still be eligible for your $1,200. Okay, but the non-resident alien, they won't be eligible for the $1,200. Okay, this is unlike the original version of the CARES Act, which said, look, even if you have a social, and you're married to someone who doesn't have a social, then you guys don't get anything, right? Now this is saying, right, you can be married to a non-resident alien, okay, as long as they have an ITIN, right, you'll still get your $1,200. All right. Okay, so that's what that's about. Let's move on. So this is number 3. The number 3 thing that the HEROES Act wants to change about the old stimulus. So now they're saying that recovery rebates not subject to reduction or offset with respect to past due child support. So now they're saying recovery rebates, stimulus checks won't be reduced or offset with respect to past due support, past due child support. Original CARES Act said if you owe child support, okay, you would, your stimulus would be reduced by the amount that you're behind. This is saying no, the old stimulus and the new stimulus as well would not, past due child support wouldn't have anything to do with it. Now I know this won't make some people happy, namely those folks who are owed child support, right? But that's what the Democrats have proposed. That's the third thing. Fourth thing that the HEROES Act proposes to change about the stimulus payments, the old stimulus, which would also apply to the new, they're calling this protection of 2020 recovery rebates. So basically this is saying, this is all just kind of reorganization, renaming. But what they're going to add, right? They're going to add the following new paragraph. It says, in general, any applicable payment shall not be subject to transfer, assignment, execution, levy, attachment, garnishment, or other legal process, or the operation of any bankruptcy or insolvency law to the same extent as payments described in Section 207 of the Social Security Act, without regard to subsection B thereof. So the Social Security Act, okay, basically says, look, Social Security payments, they're not subject to garnishment. And now the HEROES Act is saying we're going to treat the stimulus payments, the old stimulus and the new stimulus payments, with the same protection that Social Security payments have, right? Because under the old CARES Act, there was no protection in there for that. A private debt collector, right, who had a garnishment order could theoretically suck that stimulus right out of your bank account. HEROES Act is saying, that we're not going to let that happen for either the old or the new stimulus. All right. And there's this language down here about encoding of payments, how they're saying, okay, the Treasury, really the IRS, will, associate with each stimulus payment a unique identifier, right? So that the bank knows that the payment is a protected payment that shouldn't be able to be seized, by garnishment orders, right? Similar to Social Security payments. All right. So that's the fourth thing that the HEROES Act seeks to change about the old stimulus and also apply to the new stimulus. All right, here's the fifth thing. And this is really just clarification. I think it's common sense, but I think they wanted to codify this just in case. This is about representative payees. All right. It's basically saying, a representative payee, right? Whether it's for someone who receives Social Security, SSI, SSDI benefits, RRB, or Veterans Affairs benefits, money that's deposited, right, to the representative payee's account, that's a stimulus amount, it must be provided to the individual who is entitled to the payment, right? So if you're a representative payee, this is just saying you should have the money. You should get the money. The representative payee should provide it to you or use it only for your benefit. Okay. Again, this is kind of common sense, but they want to codify this. Maybe because the IRS has not been very good about giving guidance right now for those who have representative payees and are still waiting for their first stimulus check, right? And I saw a bunch of questions like from people like, hey, in the next stimulus, Will Social Security people get it? Will Veterans, Affairs people get it? The answer is yes, if it passes, right? If it passes, that's kind of the key phrase there. And of course, this section here is just saying the amendments made by this section shall take effect as if they were included in Section 2201 of the CARES Act. So this is just saying, if the HEROES Act passes, it'll affect all these things and make it so that this stuff was in the original CARES Act. Okay. Now, this section here, 20106, this is basically saying that so if it turns out that you are owed more stimulus from the old stimulus, right, due to the HEROES Act, right, maybe because you have you claim adult dependents and we're not eligible for the $500 for them before, but now with the HEROES Act for the old stimulus, now you're eligible for the $500. This section is just saying that even if you already got a stimulus payment, right, Treasury should issue another stimulus payment, okay, to make you whole based on the new HEROES Act rules. And by the way, in that situation, under the new stimulus payment the HEROES Act is calling for, you would get $1,200 for those dependents up to 3 dependents. All right. Okay, so those are the 5 things that the HEROES Act proposes to change about the original stimulus checks. I hope that was helpful to you. I'm going to keep digging into the HEROES Act and give you more updates. I don't know if I'm going to be able to push one out today, but definitely tomorrow as I continue to digest all this new information. All right, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please be sure to click the like button below. It really helps for the YouTube algorithm so that we can make sure that accurate information goes out on YouTube about the stimulus. All right, thank you all. Bye-bye.